Hi, welcome back to Country Basket Weaving. I'm your hostess, Sandy Atkinson. Today we're going to be working on our gathering basket. The material and cut pattern for this basket is, you're going to need 5/8 inch flat, cut 9 pieces 33 inches long. Also cut 12 pieces at 24 inches. From 3/8 inch flat, you're going to need 2 pieces at 33 inches. You'll also need some 5/8 inch flat and 3/8 inch flat, plus some number 2 round for weavers. You're also going to need a 10 by 10 inch oak square hoop, some raffia, and I've also added a clay heart to this pattern. Go ahead and put your reed to soak in some warm water. I've already done that. And for time's sake, I went ahead and already laid out my pieces here, all but one, because I want to remind you to mark them in the center. Remember to line up your ends. Using a pencil, make your center mark. Using a spoke weight or something heavy, lay them underneath the spoke weight at the tips. Then you're going to take your 10 by 10 hoop, and this is called a square hoop. It's glued together, and where you see the glue marks here, we want to make sure that is put on the bottom of the basket. Our first weaver here is going to be woven under, so pick up your second and your fourth and every other one thereafter, and then lay it across here, and I've laid it across my lines here so that my pencil lines here are in the center of this hoop. Then go and get your 24 inch pieces, and again I've already marked the centers to save time, and you're going to weave them opposite of, this is considered a spoke, it's our handle but it's considered a spoke, weave it opposite of the handle. And because we have 12, we're going to know automatically that we're going to weave 6 of them on one side of the handle and 6 on the other side of the handle. I find it easier on this pattern, and it just depends on patterns, but I find it easier sometimes to go ahead and start the spacing. I know in the past I've said go ahead and get it all laid out and then we'll go back and do some spacing on it, but I'm going to go ahead and lay out this one side and space it, and then we'll go to the other side. And again, each one is woven opposite of the row before it. It's important to start the handle piece where you have the outside spokes underneath the handle, so just keep that in mind for this pattern. One more, and again my wrong side of my reed is up because this is going to be the inside of the basket. What I've done here is taken a piece of just 5/8 inch scrap, mark 5/8 on it, throw it in my toolbox and use it again, but come up here to the handle and pull these up. This makes an excellent spacer. It's so much easier using this than it would be to use a ruler or tape measure or anything like that. And I'm going to space these. Now I know that my spokes this way are not even yet, but we'll go back and get those in just a minute. Go ahead and clamp this. I don't need my spoke weight anymore, so we can set that aside. Very carefully turn this around, and we're going to weave in these. Again, my first one is opposite of my handle. I have a center mark on here. I'm going to line that up with the center of my hoop here. I'm going to work each one of these in. Set this basket back a little bit, give me some more room. Working on a kitchen countertop, a kitchen table is a real good place to weave unless you're fortunate enough to have an art room or a creative room. But you do need a water source. I have 2 more to weave in. Almost there. Line up my centers. Then I'm going to come back and get that 5/8 inch scrap piece, and again line these up here. Sometimes it's helpful too, I've learned to eyeball a lot, but sometimes it's helpful to go ahead and put a pencil mark on the center of your hoop so that you can line it up that way, but like I said, I've learned to kind of eyeball things. Okay, I'm going to take these 2 off up here, and I'm going to come, and I know that I want this one on the edge of my hoop, and I want this one at the edge of my hoop, and I have one that's going to be in dead center. So then I'm going to come back here, and I'm just going to space these 2 by eyeballing them, these 3 that are in between. This one needs to go over. This one's too close, we can see that, so just scooch it over. Take a minute and take time. Don't hurry your basket. The more time you take on it, the nicer the basket you're going to have. And don't forget you're creating some family heirlooms here. Okay, I'm going to use the clothespins and I'm going to clamp all 4 of my corners, and that's to hold everything into place while I go on. Now I'm going to weave, I'm going to twine. My number 2 got way over in the corner there. I'm using number 2 round. I use a lot of 2 round. And I'm going to crimp. Remember, we're always crimping with 2 different end lengths on one end. Using our needle nose pliers, we're going to come in here and crimp. That makes this bend without breaking. I'm going to set this off because I'm going to knock it off in a minute. We're going to come up here, and I'm going to choose a a spoke that is under. This one is going over, so this means that this spoke here I'm going to start on is under, and I'm going to loop onto that. We're going to do some twining. We're going to do 4 rows of twining, and then we're going to add our crossover spokes. Loop it over, that spoke there, taking the one on the left, go behind the next spoke. That puts this one on the left. Just repeat this. Always the left one going over. Hold this one down if you can. That'll help you keep it out of the way, and remember to go over that piece also. When we're working on a square or rectangle type basket, we have corners that are different. We have irregular and regular corners. If I was to pull this one down, which follows the pattern, if you can see that, it would slide under. So what I need to do is lock it in. Come and get your left piece, take it around the corner first, and then bring the piece that was on the right across. Now this one on the right becomes my left, and continue on with the pattern. These got out of line a little bit, so I'm just going to stop and place them back in line. And I'm going to twine. I want to speed up my twining a little bit here so that I can get to the other corner. On this type of baskets, in the way this is woven, you're going to have 2 regular and 2 irregular corners. It might help you too. We know this was an irregular, so just put a little pencil mark there. Once it's irregular, it'll always be irregular. Okay, I'm going to come in here. Now I have a regular corner. If I bring my left one just down like this, or my right one down, take my left one and bring it around, it automatically falls right in place. And we're going to continue on weaving. Always the left one going behind the spoke that we're coming to. When I come to my handle now is my spoke. So think of it as a spoke. Bring this one over, and again the left one goes behind. Let's try to do one more corner for you before we go on to our next part, and before we switch baskets here. Turn this so you can see it. I bring this one on the left. Now see how it slides down in there? That's an irregular corner. Lay it out. Take the one on the right around first, then bring the left one down. And put that little X there to remember that you have to do that each time. And continue on twining. I want you to twine for a total of 4 rows. Okay? When you have your 4 rows in, it's best not to soak your handles. They're made out of wood, and we don't want to raise the wood grain on the handles, but here I kind of have to. But try it at home not to do that. Okay, I have my 4 rows woven around. Come in here and find, here it is, my 3/8. I've already got these cut, and I have the centers marked on them already. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to count down 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to count in 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3 is over here. I'm going to go under 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, this one here. I'm going to go underneath that one, and it should slide right in there. If it doesn't, use your flathead screwdriver and pick it up. Then I'm going to go under my center handle and pull it all the way to my center mark. Here's my center mark. I want that underneath the center of my handle. Then come up here and count down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and in 3, this is the one I'm going under. Put it under there, bring it around, and pull it up tight. The reason we're putting these 2 pieces in is to give us a corner spoke here. Besides, it's really pretty. It's decorative. I'm going to come down 4 and in 3, and I go under here. Now this one I might have a little bit of trouble. No, it's getting that piece in. So just lift it up with your flathead screwdriver. Come down, and here's the one I'm going under this time. Pull this again to your center. Give it a little tug. And try to have these lined up with the center of the basket here. Then we're going to continue on twining. Remember how we talked about the corners, irregular and regular? Now we don't have them anymore because we've included this piece here. Now we're more like a round basket, so we don't have to worry about our corners. But you do up into the first 4 rows. Go around your corner, continue on, and I want you to do this until you have woven 2 more rows. And I'm not going to take the time to do it right now because we're going to run out of time if we do. So when you do this, weave 2 more rows around. Then when you have those 2 rows around, what happens is it's getting real difficult to weave this inside. As you weave, you should be pulling up these 2 spokes, especially the 2 by the handle. Pull them up so we can get that to arch up with the handle. But what happens, it gets really difficult to weave inside the basket. So what we're going to do here is simply snip off the ends, come around on the same side, and we're going to start on the outside of the basket. And this will allow me to work these spokes towards the center of the basket so I can get a nice arch on this. It arches up in here. The outsides don't arch as much, if you notice on the finished basket. This time, though, I have to take 2 end lengths. We're not going to do a crimp. We're going to take 2 end lengths, and we're going to insert them. 1 here and 1 here. So they're coming out of 2 consecutive spots. And then we're going to go on and twine. Hold this tight until we get a ways, because otherwise it's real easy to pull that out. Go around your handle. Remember, your handle is considered a spoke. And I need to do some untwining here, untangling. And we're going to pull this through. And now I'm going to be able to work on this and pull this, or push this rather, towards the center of the basket so that I can start arching these sides up. And again, I don't have to worry about any corners, just continue right around the basket because I inserted those corner pieces. Doesn't that make a pretty inside? Continue around, and these we're going to start arching up too. I know this is a spot where it's kind of hard for you to see what I'm doing, but I'm simply just twining. I'm going to twine for a total of 10 rows. 10 rows all the way around the basket. And then just simply when you come to the end of it, I believe I can show you on this next part how we're going to end this twining. Remember, 10 rows at that point. Taking out the next part, I'm going to wet the other side that was hanging out there. Okay. And you simply cut off the ends. This is where I was working right here. Is that a better shot for you to see? And I simply am going to end 1 inside and 1 outside, and that keeps my pattern going. I'll come back later and I'll do trim work and trim these up. Now we need to go in and get our 5/8 flat so that we can do this first row on the bottom of the basket. As we do it, remember that you must come in on the first row and go underneath the handle. Make sure you have your right side of your reed up also. Weave it back a little bit so that you're starting on top of a spoke, and go ahead and put a clip on there. I have a tendency to use lots of clips, especially on this first row, because there's so much that we have to hold together. Remember, there's nothing to hold this basket together at this point. Clip up your 3 corner spokes. That's something that really helps too. Come in here, and I'm just weaving a basic pattern over and under, sometimes called plaiting. And I'm going to clip up my corner here. It might be easier for you to weave flat on the table, but trying to show you for those purposes, I'm going to weave up here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Sometimes I even weave on my lap. That seems to be easier. Again, I'm coming to a corner, so I'm going to take these corner spokes and pin them up and weave around. And I'm back to almost where I started. Pin these up. This basket has a tendency to flare out at the sides, but we need to bring up the side, or the ends rather. It flares out the ends, have it bring it up at the sides. Now I'm back to where I started. Remember, I have to overlap 4. Here's 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to hide behind my handle, and I'm going to cut this off a little bit to hide that end under there. I'm going to do one more row of the 5/8 inch flat, and then I'm going to do a row of 3/8 flat before we start our twining. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next basket to get those. Now that we have those 3 rows done that we spoke about, we're going to start our twining with our number 2 round. Make sure each one of these rows are packed in tight. That's important because we want to do that now. It's hard to do later. Remember, we're going to crimp our number 2 round, 2 different end lengths, starting anywhere. We're going to start on an under weave again. Remember, we've talked about that. Pick a spoke that has a weave over it, and taking the one on the left, you're going behind. We don't have any corners on this. This is real easy twining. Remember to go around your handle. The one on the left goes behind the next spoke. This is really good to help hold this basket all together, although I really did put it in for the beauty of the basket to break up the pattern. We really wouldn't have needed it, but that's why I did it. So go ahead, work it all down, work your spokes in tight as we weave, and go ahead and do 3 rows of the twining, and we'll go to the next basket now. Now that we've woven up the sides of our basket, we're ready to cut and tuck the top ends of it up here. Just to go review a minute, we're going to have 2 rows of your 5/8, a row of your 3/8 twining, a row of 3/8, and another row of 5/8. To cut and tuck the top, if the weaver comes behind a spoke, that spoke is going to bend down in and tuck into the basket. If the weaver comes in front of a spoke, that spoke is going to get cut off, and it'll be all the way around your basket. Let's go to another basket. I've already got it all tucked and cut except for a couple, so we can review that. We're going to come in here. This weaver goes behind, so this one's going to get trimmed off if it's too long. I kind of cut it with a point on the end so it'll travel real easy. Using my flathead screwdriver, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tuck those down in. This one's going to get cut off. This one's going to tuck. Put it here. I'm going to lift this up and scooch that down in there. And this one's going to get cut off. Okay, now we're ready to put our rim on, and because I don't need this basket to be real sturdy on the top, I'm going to use just my flat reed, and I have chosen 5/8. It matches my top row up here. I got a bad spot on my reed, simply cut it off. Come up in here, and we're going to make sure the right side of the reed is on the outside, and we're going to clip this on all the way around here. And I'm going to pin it on. When I get to the other side, I'm using lots of clothespins. When I get to the other side, I'm going to overlap it about 3 inches and then simply cut it off. Do the same thing on the inside. Make sure that my reed is on the good side is facing the outside of the basket. Yes, that's right. I did say that correct. Pin this on all the way around. And that's going to be my rim. And again, when I get to the end, I'm going to overlap about 3 inches and simply cut this off. This one's done a little bit different. Instead of lashing with the flat, I am going to lash this one with number 2 round, kind of a pretty effect for it. When I use that, make sure you soak the number 2 round really good because we want it very pliable. Come in here about 4 inches and we're going to put a crimp on it. And that's again so it'll bend without breaking. Coming on the inside, now I don't want to start here because that was an overlap, so let's come over here and start. Bring it up between the basket and the inside rim. Bring it up to that crimp, bend it down, and put it down so it's on the outside now. Come back in here, open this area up, insert that down in there. So I'm back to the inside. All this work is being done under the rim, so it'll be hidden. And I'm going to repeat that step one more time. And it's real easy working with this flat for the rim because it's just so pliable. It moves easy for me. Now, a little different on this basket is I've put in raffia to hide my work on the top of the rim here. And this is simply raffia. You can purchase it most anywhere in your craft supply stores. Lay it on here. And as I work, I'm not going to worry about my ends. I'm going to come back later and I'll trim those off when I X my handles. Come in here and I'm going to just start wrapping. Oh, I've got a knot on the end of this one. There we go. Bring it up around here. I'm going into this hole here. And I'm going to go ahead and start the other end so I don't have to fumble and keep looking for it and I lose it and it gets tangled, so I'm going to go ahead and start another end here. And then I'm going to come up here and pull this one tight. You're going to work this pattern all the way around the basket. When you get back to where you started, you're going to double back because we're going to double lash this one, double back and go all the way around again. Remember, when you come to your handles, let's go to the next basket here. When you come to your handles, make your cross on the outside. It's just pretty. That's where we want it, on the outside, for people to see it. Here I'm almost finished. I'm making the X's at the top of the basket in here, and I've also worked in the raffia. You can see how that's been worked in. I'm going to go ahead and finish the basket. I have one more spoke set to go between. I'm going to work that in through there. Now I have to end this piece, and we're going to end it the very same way we started it. I'm coming in here in between my rim on the inside of the basket and my basket and bringing that piece up. Gently go underneath the raffia, work that piece under there, and then you're going to go down between the outside rim and the basket. Take it back to the inside, and I know it's tight in here. We've already been through here 3 times, twice when we started, and now this is our 4th time going through here, but this will not come out. I'll guarantee it. This will stay in there forever for you. Go ahead and push it up one more time. And my end is getting kind of weak, so I'm going to go ahead and just snip that off. There we go. Gently again, one more time, go underneath that raffia, and then take that piece down to the outside. And then you can just give it a tight pull, work your raffia back down, and come in here and snip that off. Real quick here, I'm going to show you how to trim these pieces. Take this piece here and just cut it off at an angle. That's how you're going to trim your whole basket, and that's what you're going to do when you finish it. I'm going to put on a decorative piece here. This is just some raffia. I'm going to bring it down. I've probably got about 6 to 10 strands here. I'm going to put a nice bow on it. Spend some time on it. You can fuss with this and make this really pretty. Then I took my clay heart and I picked up one of these pieces in here, came one way with it, picked up another piece, came in the front the opposite way, pulled that up, brought it up here, and I just tied these together in a knot. Then I come in here and I'll take my scissors and I'll do some of the trim work. These are kind of long. Just come in here, trim them off and get them where you want them, and then you have your basket. Next week we're going to be working on our chip and dip carrier. A new pattern I've just finished, and I want to share it with you. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.